This is a brand new Takin forest. And with that, welcome to the next episode of Hirscheck, our wonderful German Black Forest inspired project. Today we are going to add the Takin, as you can clearly tell by the TA on the ground, and this is gonna be a very interesting episode because we are bringing in the connection between what is the Saiga episode of last, or the Saiga habitat I should say. Last episode we added the Saiga with the wonderful little sphere in the middle of which you can see them very upfront without actually annoying them too much. So if you haven't seen that one, highly recommend to pause the video now, go to the last video, watch this and then come back to this one. Or if you want to see how we created this wonderful mute swan habitat with actual boats where people can sit in the boats and enjoy a little, stroll on the lake, you can watch that as well. But today we're going to focus on this area. It's going to change quite dramatically, as you will see during the time lapse and also as you will see in the real-time part at the end, which is this time around much more important than usual because the area is going to be very overgrown, very green, has a lot of inclines, and so it's important to see that in real time because, you know, screenshots do not pay justice to what this is going to be. But just to give you a little heads up, what's going to happen is that this area is going to be turned out into like a foresty area with a lot of height elevations to give the Takin enough space to roam around, to climb a little, go up and down, you know, just do whatever they do. And this area, which is already kind of defined, is going to be like a little bit of a raised plateau on which we're going to have a little German Christmas market inspired areas with like some small stalls and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm gonna clap in my hands now and we're gonna start the time lapse. So let's go with the time lapse. Well, as always, we are going to talk about the story behind the Takin habitat in a couple of minutes. So if you're interested into the story, stick with me. And if you're interested in how this entire, idea about this habitat was created, also stick with me during today's voiceover. Now, I'm trying to make this a little bit more relaxed and chill as we are moving toward the Christmas days. And I'm just like very happy about the last couple days and weeks of YouTube and just in general. It kind of feels like rounding the year up after a lot of lows, to be honest. This year, YouTube-wise, was really shaped by many, many lows and very, very few highs. And it's very good to see that we are ending it on a relative high. You know, it is an absolute low when you consider what's going on YouTube. But my feelings and the connection to you guys as in a community is definitely on a very high, and I am absolutely thankful for that. And this is very much down to you because the comments lately, and I hope that you will be encouraged to keep on commenting like that on this video as well. And the amount of love shared for this project specifically is kind of unseen in the last years, so I'm very happy and very, very thankful, and I really mean that. It's a very honest opinion and a very honest feeling I'm sharing with you right now. So this is why this episode is also focusing on something I wanted to do for a while, which is not necessarily part of my usual builds, but this is a very classical German Christmas market, Weihnachtsmarkt as it's called in German. And we have like these little stalls, and I know that in other countries there are also so-called winter markets, but originally this whole kind of market thing really comes from the core of Europe, from the medieval times, and specifically in Germany it's a huge tradition to have all these Christmas markets. And there are some very well-known ones, like in Aachen, for example, or the Sternchen one in Cologne and in Düsseldorf, and like that there are many you can name, but also in the Netherlands there's one in a grotto, which we've been also to in Vamburg or Vorburg, something like that. Can't really pronounce that. There's a whole tradition in Europe around the Christmas markets, and I'm very happy that we bring that in here. We have somewhat of these stalls were already, besides that, a viewing tower in Season 1 of Hirscheck. By the way, if you haven't seen Season 1 yet and you just joined the channel during this year maybe, or just during this series maybe. Also, if you joined my channel during Hirscheck as a series, please say that in the comments today. I really would love to know. Just tell me that you joined the channel because of Hirscheck. That would be very interesting to note. So let me know with a brief comment down below, please. But yeah, so then you may actually want to watch the first season yet again, so you see all these things being developed and a bit more of the backstory of Hirscheck, just in general, how it is. But just for a very quick heads up, this project is located somewhere in the Black Forest of Germany, and this is more like in the western part of Germany. It is not Bavaria. Many people from foreign countries immediately kind of, think of Bavaria when they think of Germany, but these building styles are also very common in our other like foresty areas and other mountain regions of Germany, even though Black Forest is not necessarily mountain regions, but it's definitely a bit more of a landscape that these things would occur naturally in. And yeah, it's part of the entire German tradition, if you will, and culture. So I'm very happy. And as you can see with this building, we are recycling something from my beloved Yosemite project. And this is the moment where I need to highlight a function that has come into the game and is secretly the best new function in the game. And it is absurd that we didn't have something like that and we didn't think of it. And I cannot think of any game that has this function. And this is the color palette picker. So what that is basically if you just completely missed out on that, which could easily happen because it was just very weirdly put into the update notes and not really much talked about, but there is a new option. If you click down to the very right-hand side of your screen, to the just above the play button, there is this multi-select tool. And when you click on that one, there is a new option, and that is a multi-select color option. It's like a little color palette is in there. And if you take that one and you click off any piece that is FlexiColor, the game will automatically select all the pieces that have the exact same color. It doesn't sound super impressive, but trust me, it is. If you, for example, made like a roof out of a lot of these individual wooden slabs, for example, and you want to recolor them, but you forgot to make like an entire group of it. In the past, I kind of, for myself, I developed the process of building in different element groups. The roof was one group, but as soon as you had a different piece in that is not the same category of pieces, despite having the same color, it was impossible to FlexiColor everything again. But with this new option, you don't even need to create your own category. The only thing you need to do is select the piece, and every piece in that group that contains the same color, the exact same color, will be selected automatically. So you can easily recolor things afterwards. So if you're like, yeah, I'm not feeling that kind of beige I have in this building and I want to have it more brown, you just click on it and it's immediately brown. It is beautiful. It's such a quality of life improvement, which I think Frontier should have talked a lot more about. But yeah, so very good to have. And usually these things carry over into the next games. And I'm very hopeful if we would talk at some point about Planet Coaster 2, then all these things will be carried over. And I cannot wait for having that. However, let's talk now about this Christmas market again and also about the story behind the Takin, which we are tackling in a moment. We are talking about the Takin as soon as this building over here is done, because I wanted to make it very cozy, and we are also changing up a little bit of the style of the different buildings. I have this weird kink, I should call it. I was thinking about which is the right word, but I don't know why, but even my own pieces, I very rarely want to recycle them. I always feel like shabby when I take something I have already built in the past and I reuse this because it feels like kind of lazy. Even though I know it's not, but I just want to create new things, but I kind of try now to, in this project, it's totally fine to use some of the other stalls we have already used in the past, because it's literally the same park. They would technically use the same thing all over again, so why wouldn't they? It makes total sense because there are like synergy effects in there, and why would they always have a new design? So I'm very confident in using these old things, but I wanted to spice them up with new things. And so because the game has a weird way of filtering small pieces, because if you type in the filter small, the pieces are not small, they are just the smallest of their category relatively. So it doesn't make sense for an overall tiny group. I have a custom command or a custom tag that is called tiny, but I never continued putting in the new pieces. I think after the third or fourth DLC, I stopped categorizing them, so it's basically unusable. whatever, it's not usable anymore. So what I did over here, and this is something you guys should do as well, I think it's super helpful when you want to really go into small detailing. I'd search for a lot of different small pieces, and I just threw them down here to the ground. And it's not even to really copy paste them. It's more like that you see them and you have them in your vision and you're like, oh yeah, I can use that one. It's almost like having a color palette in your hands and you're like, oh, you know, I can use this mute tone to just kind of add to that blue that I just used, for example, you know. And this is the same way I do it. I'm just like having all these pieces in my viewfinder the whole time in order to understand if it's the right piece or not. And I think this is working pretty beautifully fine. What I wanted to build over here, and this is what I'm taking the most time to find the perfect size. I wanted to make like this one table, like this raised table where people can stand next to. In German, it's the Stehtisch. I don't even know if that's like a standing table or stand. I'm not sure if there's even an English word for it. But it's a very common German thing that people gather around these tables when partying or when taking like a hot wine, for example, or a beer or something else. Or to eat a pretzel. And this is what we do over here. We do just like a little pretzel design. That was a wonderful idea from the stream. It's not my original idea. So someone in the stream mentioned that these two pieces together could give like cool pretzels. And so I did this and I really think it works out pretty well. It has the texture. It just kind of works. If you glimpse over it, it really looks like a pretzel. And what could be more German than pretzels, you know? Putting them here to the side of this little shop as well. Really like this. Like these little details give the build character, and that's what I really love about them. That's really what I love about them. But we're almost done with the Christmas market, so it's time to already find a segue into talking about the Takin story. This time around, the Takin story is another very nice story that I took into consideration. Before I read it out, let me give you another call to action to please give me more stories. We are having a bit of a lack of a story for the Wolverines. I think there's not even a single story for the Wolverines. And we still need stories for the Wiesent and the Borst. We have already some stories for those two, but more stories would be nice. And I want to bring more people in that haven't been featured on my channel so often. So make sure to bring in your creative stories. It's very interesting to read them because you guys come up with wonderful ideas, and B, I really would love to give you a little space in this project. So yeah, just put down your stories for either the Wiesent, the Boar, or the Wolverine. You could also go in with a snow fox, maybe Arctic fox, because that one is very likely to get into if you want to, but focus on the previously mentioned three. Now, as we go over into making the shelter now for the Takin, here is the story. After a 2-year-long investigation of a black market animal trader, only known as the Tiger of Europe, authorities finally found their animal storage compound and proceed to raid it. Authorities recovered many illegally trafficked animals in various levels of health. Among the animals were a few Takin in relatively good health. After authorities sent the majority of the animals to other animal rescues facilities, zoos, and veterinary hospitals, Hirscheck volunteered to Takin the Takin. For as long as the Takin needs to be taken, cared of. Yeah, that is the wonderful story of Cain and these little puns that were totally intended, because he even added pauses for laughter and pauses for another laughter in his text and comment, which I found beautiful. And so I included them because they were just written in them. Jokes aside, I really like the story because, again, this whole project is becoming a project for rescued animals more than other. And I think it's really nice because these wildlife reserves in Germany really quite often have this in this focus, which usually they do not really have that many animals from other countries or other continents or other regions even. That's actually rare, but it's most likely to conserve our European livestock, so to say. And I really like this, that we have this project with a lot of very common European animals. And for me personally, this is, again, a moment where I just need to step back a little and let things be the way they are, because I have been super negative about the European pack back then, before it was really released and before I had early access. And once I got early access, I was so blown away, and I still believe that the Euro pack is among the best packs to have. So if you don't have that, I highly recommend checking out if you'll find that on Instant Gaming, for example, because it is such a good pack. I can, again, just highly recommend getting it. Absolutely beautiful pack. And also the same was with the Eurasia pack. I have to admit though that, I'm not as blown away from the Eurasia pack as I have been with the Europe pack, but it's definitely a lot better than I was initially thinking, simply because the animals are a lot better than I was initially thinking. The animals are very interesting, and for some odd reasons, it really feels the right way now, making this a thing in the wildlife reserve. And I think that the main reason why this feels so good is because it is finally something different. Making zoos in this game is obviously the first choice to do so, and I've done a lot of different creative things like the space station and dioramas, and not everything really kicked people because some things were a little bit too off. So for example, the space project, we have some people who really desperately love it. They really love it, and they were craving for more episodes, but the majority couldn't care less, I guess, about it. It was too far off, It was different, but it was too different. And I think the wildlife reserve approach is very similar to a zoo, but it's different enough to be new and exciting and to offer us some more variation to play with, to make habitats that are different than habitats in zoos would be. We have a bit more freedom in coming up with storytelling. So I'm a big fan of that, and that this is, I think, partially the reason why this is received so well by you guys. But let me know in the comments down below why you think specifically this project is so well received right now. That's just my opinion on that. But we're almost done with the time lapse, so I just want to encourage you to stick with me throughout the end of this episode, because in a second we are going over into the time lapse, and you will see into the real time part, and you will see a lot of changes that have happened in between. So I'm gonna hand you over now to the real time Rudy. Enjoy. Alright, welcome to our Christmas market area and the finished habitat. Well, somewhat finished. You can see there are some very nice tables on which we can stand, get ourselves a hot wine, or snack like a bratwurst, a German sausage, we just made use of all the new pieces from the shops as well. You've got some mugs over here where you can get the hot wine in. Over here you can also grab some pretzels. Very nice idea from the stream, by the way, to use these little rope pieces from the Oceania pack. And you can also see the ground here is used, is the rocks from the Oceania pack. And then we've got some beer benches over here. This is the typical German kind of Biergarten Bank. Just need to say that in German because that's how it is, like the beer garden, beer bench, very much classic German stuff. And then if you check over here, you can see the Takins roam around in their very hilly, mountainish area, very foresty, a lot of trees, very overgrown. I kept this relatively open over here, but I may change this once the whole project is done and we will have even more trees and stuff in here. It's like I still need to do some screenshots, okay? That's why it's a little bit more open. There you can see the sphere in the background. I quite like this view, to be honest, so maybe I'm gonna leave this so just as like a little bit of a target to move to. We have some more stalls over here. Oh, I actually left 2 stalls in one. Haha, look at that. Okay, whatever. Gonna change that later on. And yeah, you've got a very nice view of the Takins. But they still are left alone somewhat, so they are having good privacy, so that is good. And then once you move to the back here, you can see this is not fully done. I'll grab some time and I'm gonna finish up these areas too, put a little fence in here. It's immediately a little bit more quiet. So you have a little glimpse inside of the habitat. There's a Takin lion there chilling a little in here. On the other hand side, we've got the Saiga building, which I didn't include, but this is also not entirely finished. And look at all the pieces I used there. Yeah, just don't look there, okay? So it's hidden by the wall. You wouldn't have seen it anyways. I'm just running around so you can see a little bit of the Takin. Again, I'm not entirely sure if I leave it the way it is, but I kind of like the simplicity of this area. We've got some stuff growing here underneath the trees, some more lower stuff, which usually wouldn't be that much. You have so much shadow down here, there's not something big growing, so that makes sense. And yeah, just in general, you have this typical view through these mesh fences, which You know, in a wildlife reserve, most likely would be this way. So they don't have money or the need for kind of very crazy fences, and so that's how it would be anyways. And I mean, just look at that. I really like that. And then if you go over here, this is the area that is still very much unfinished. We're going to spend some time on this later in this project, but on here, and this is again one of the areas I wanted to keep, and I will actually make this look even better. I wanted to keep the lakefront rather open so you can see the restaurant on the left hand side. And if you pan your view over to the side, you have this very cool view of this little forest mountain here from the Takins. And I may actually, look at that one having fun with a little jump. I may actually include a couple more foliage pieces in the front here, but I wanted to also save some FPS because there are certainly a lot more trees coming into this project anyways. And yeah, so you've got another view here to the lake, and if we zoom out, and we have a look from above, you can see it's now coming really nicely together. The lake in the middle will very nicely be integrated once this is all done, and you can already tell by these sides like how organically it's going to be embedded once it's all done. This spot over here is still left open. You guys had the idea to potentially bring in the Arctic fox, but that would already be way too much space. So maybe we're going to bring in something else too. If you've got any suggestions, let me know in the comments down below. This area is going to be reserved for the recent. Don't mind these trees, they are just a backdrop for making photos for this habitat. This will look completely different later on. The wolverine will go here, and the wild boar is gonna go here. And this is also featured in the next episode. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna make 3 episodes or if it's maybe 2, where I have the recent and wild boar in one. Not entirely sure if I do so because I, want to make some ground in the next coming days where I hopefully have a little bit more time. But yeah, so I'm very, very pleased with how this project is gonna developed or how it's developing at the moment. So please let me know in the comments down below if you like this area, if you like our little Christmas market stall area here on top of that hill. Do you have any ideas to make it more lush without actually sacrificing too much of the light? And also make sure to keep on giving me some stories, because we need some more stories as always. These are very important to make this entire series the thing we wanted to make it from the beginning. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to the future of this project. Thank you so much for your ongoing support. Make sure to put a comment down below, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. All that drama, it's annoying to say that all the time, but you know the drill. It has to be done. It almost is like the algorithm triggers more if you say that. Whatever. I wish you all a very wonderful day. Stay safe. Make sure that you stay healthy before Christmas Day hits. So yeah, have a good time. Thank you so much, and goodbye.